Okay, so like I said, in the while loop is one of the iteration method we can actually use to print out a list of items. Okay, so now we may have names, and in that name we have a list of names. Okay, we have mind you, please, when you're writing your string, it must be in quotes. I keep repeating this because it's very important you understand the difference between all your data types. So Samson, Emmanuel, quotes. Okay, Emmanuel in quotes. Juliet in quotes. Okay, you can have any other name. Okay, you can have Ibrahim. You can have Ibrahim in quotes. So it doesn't take only English names. So you can have Ibrahim in quote as well. Okay, so now our for loop helps us to print out. Okay, if you want to print out all these names, the names in this list, with our for loop we can actually print out these names. We can say for items, for item in name, for item in name. Please, each time you write a for loop or a while loop, I didn't say this when I was doing a while loop, each time you write a loop, it must end with a colon. Your loop must end with a colon, please. That is very important. It's very important for you to remember that your loop must end with a colon. So for item in names, okay, print, you print item. Print item. If I hit my print button, I'm going to have those names printed out. I have those names printed out down here. So if you're using your for loop, you can also make your results to be unique. Yes, you may not, if you don't want it to come out this way, you can make it to be unique. Okay, so you can decide to say, okay, inside this parenthesis, the print parenthesis, you can put a string. With a string, you can just write something with a string. You can say I can write anything I want to write. The name of this person, is, then I'll close. I can just put a column, then I'll close my parenthesis. The name of this person is, I'll close my parenthesis. Now from this point to this point is a string, a line of string I've actually put in there. Then I close my parenthesis, then I'll put a comma. There's a comma there. Then the next thing that follows is item. So to someone who do not understand, you might be wondering, what's the meaning of this item? Why did I include item in this place? Item simply means these names one after the other. So by the time I hit my print now, the Python program will go back to this list and start printing these names one after the other. What the Python program is going to do, the execution process of this program is going to come here. The Python program will come to this print line. He will say the name of this person is, he will come to item, he will go to this point, go to Daniel, say the name of this person is Daniel. He will go back again, the name of this person is Samson. He will go back again, the name of this person is Emmanuel. Then he will go back again, the name of this person is Juliet. It will continue till he gets to the last name. So that is what we're going to have. So our outcome is going to be the name of this person is, it will list all the names. So let's print and see what happens. So that's what we have in our outcome there. So we can see from our outcome that the iteration has been done, and Python was able to go through this list of names one after the other. Okay, one after the other. You can see the name of this person is Daniel, and the name of this person is Samson, the name of this person is Emmanuel. So it continues in that order. Okay, so this is the function of the for loop. Like we said, the for loop is an iteration loop. The for loop is one of the most used iteration instruments in writing codes. It's one of the most used. Okay, you can use the for loop to do a lot of things. For instance, I may have a number here. I may have list of numbers. We don't just have list of strings. We can also have list of numbers. Like I can have 1. Okay, I can have 1. I can have 2. I can have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on. 10. So I can have this. So I can say for items, item in item. Okay, for item in item. Please, this word I'm using here, item, is not a keyword. You can change it to anything. You can change it to anything. I can still say for I in names. It will still give me the same outcome. Okay, so if I do this, I can just say the number is, I can change this to the number is item. So it's going to tell me the number is 1, the number is 2, the number is 3, the number is 4, the number is 5, the number is 6, the number is 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I run my prints, let me see what happens. Okay, now it's telling me that there's an error. The error is because I came to this place and changed this word item, but I didn't change it here. So I can just come here. I can just come here and correct that, change this back to I, go back and run my program again. It will give me the right outcome. Okay, so I'm having it, the number is 1, the number is 2, the number is 3. So it's actually telling me whatever, this is exactly what I wrote here. So it is repeating everything I wrote in that list. Okay, it's repeating everything I wrote in that list. So that is just it. So I can also write something else. I can say for I in names. Okay, for I in names, I can say products equals to, okay, equals to, product equals to, I can say I can put an incrementing value. I can decide to introduce an incrementing value, but let me see how it's going to be. I can say product is equals to I. Okay, let me introduce another list. I will introduce another list here. Sorry, I will introduce another list. I'll call it num in this case. Okay, I'll just introduce another list. I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's another list there. Okay, I'll say for item in, for I in names. Okay, product equals to, I'll say num. Okay, num times I. I'm just trying to create something now. Let me see what happens. So print products. Okay, I'm just trying to see how to work something out here. Print products. Let me see what my outcome will be. So you can actually create anything. Okay, sorry, I'm having a different outcome here. I'm having a different outcome here. So, but what is happening here is that these two lists, we are actually multiplying the two lists. But let me do something different. Let me take this out. Let me take this out. Okay, for item in names, I'll just say I'll just say items I to the power of 2. Okay, let me just leave it that way. Then I'll say print. This is supposed to be I, not 1, please. I to the power of 2. I'll say print item. Sorry, print products. Print products. Okay, print products. Okay, now I've printed my product. This is the outcome I'm having. Okay, so I'm having every single item in this list name raised to the power of 2, and that was the instruction given. So like I said, you can include any code. You can be very creative, and by doing that you can actually include anything you want, okay, inside your bracket. Okay, now I'm having what Python is doing here is that it just goes to the first instance. 1 times 1 is going to give you 1. Okay, 2 to the power of 2 is going to give you 4. 3 to the power of 3 is going to give you 9. 4 to the power of 4 is going to give you 16. It continues that way. 5 times 5 is giving you 25. Why? Because we said product equals to I, and I said I means every single set of item in this list. And I explained when we are talking about our arithmetic operators, I explained that when you have double asterisks, it means exponentiation. Okay, it means raised. Yes, raised to the power. So we're raising every single item in that list, we're raising those items to the power of 2. That is what it means. Okay, we're raising them to the power of 2. We can also decide to multiply every single item in that list by 2. If we do this, we can just say product is equals to the print product. Let me print and see what happens. So this is what we're having. We'll be having this. Okay, we're having 1 times 2, and all that. Okay, so if over here now, I think with this you can even design your 4-figure table. You can design your 4-figure table. Sorry, not your 4-figure table. You can design your multiplication table. Sorry, you can design your multiplication table. Yes, but in this case you're having it that you're multiplying every single item by 2. So 1 times. Come again.
You are watching.
Come
You
again.
are watching.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so like I said, every single item you can actually play around with the items in this list using the for loop. But what is very important, the for loop is actually running through all the items in that particular loop. And also, while you're using your for loop, you are printing your product. In the print product, you can make it very unique. You can make it very unique, and you can do that by using strings. If I want to kind of make my output to be unique, I can just say the product is, I can just type the product. I can say the product of this number is, then I'll close my parentheses. I'll introduce a colon, then I'll close my parentheses. Then I'll write a comma there. So I'm having 2 comments here. The product of this number is, then there's a column here, then I close my parentheses to make this a string. The thing about string is that each time you print a string comes out the way it is. That is one thing about string. String comes out the way you're seeing it. So what I wrote here, the product of this number is going to be printed out the way I just wrote this. Okay, so I can say is this, then comma. With the comma here, I'm separating these strings from this particular identifier. So I'm going to go ahead to run this. If I run that now, this same outcome will come out in a very different pattern. Good. So I'm having this. I'm having this is my results. So I'm saying the product of this number is, okay, is 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. Okay, and so on. So that's just it. So now I can also use this like my multiplication table. I can present this in the form of my multiplication table. Okay, I can present this in form of my multiplication table. So I can say okay, because we're having 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so it's actually even numbers. It's giving us list of even numbers. Okay, a list of even. So whichever way you want to present it, you can actually do that. Okay, you can do that whichever way you want to present it. I might not look at this now, but in any way you want to present your output, you are at liberty to do that. But like I explained, we have actually looked at this loop, the for loop, and we have seen how we can actually loop through all the items in a list to be able to get a list of numbers like this. Good. So this is not all we can actually do with our for loop. I'm going to clean this. This is not all we can do with our for loop. We can use our for loop to get range of numbers. I can say for items in, then I will use the keyword. I will use the keyword range. Okay, when the range comes in, I want to get range of numbers. Okay, so for items in range, I'll put the range in brackets. Now, each time you have a bracket like this and you leave the bracket open, it's actually an empty argument. So every item you're imputing into your bracket is called an argument. Now, for items in range, you must give a range of numbers you want, the range of values. Okay, so in the case of a range, we have 3 basic values. Okay, value range expected for you to supply. The first one is the first number, okay, the lower number, which is the beginning or the start point. You may want to start from 1, then you use a comma separator to separate that. Then the second one is the higher limit or the upper limit of the number. Maybe you want to go from 1 to 50, 1 to 60, 1 to 40. 1 is the lower limit, 40 is the higher limit. 1 is the lower limit, 60 is the higher limit. 1 is the lower limit, 100 is the higher limit, depending on the range of numbers you want to pick. Okay, depending on the range of numbers. So now we can just take a very lower ranged number. We can just take from 1 to 10. Okay, 1, 10. All right, so now I can say for items in range 1, 10, and I told you each time we introduce our function, okay, there must be, if you introduce your loop function, there must be a column, must end with a column there. So for items in range, okay, 1 is to 10, print items. Let's print items. Print in brackets items. So let me run it and see what happens. Okay, now we're having this range of numbers printed out. We're having it from 1 to 9 printed out. So you notice that the last number 10 here was not included. So it gives you all numbers excluding the last number or the last range. Okay, now I told you in this argument, when you come with the range function, this argument, you are expected to give three arguments, but it is not compulsory. It depends on your program. It depends on the program you're writing, but you are at liberty to give 3. Okay, so I said the first number you're seeing here is the start point. The start point is 1. Then the second number you're seeing there is the final point, but it's not printing this final number. It's there will be a -1 to this. You're having n minus 1, that is 10 minus 1 to give you 9. So 9 is the last number here. So the last option you have there, we call it the step. Okay, we call it the step. Now I'm going to have step 1 here. let me print this number and see what, let me print this program and see what happened again. I'm going to print, hit the print button. You notice something. You notice that I'm still having the same value. Even though I introduced one day, I'm still having the same value. Okay, I'm still having the same value. So what if I change that to 2? The step, if I change that to 2 and print. Now if you look very closely, something happened. Okay, there's been a reduction of the number of items printed. It simply means, the step here simply means that what, you are stepping by 2. Okay, now you count 1, then you skip 2, you count 3, you skip 4, you count 5, you skip 6, you count 7, you skip 8, you count 9. That is the meaning of this last number here. Now what if I change it to 3? What if I change it to 3? What happens? I'll just run the program again and see. Well, let's see what happens. Now you see that the interval between the items has been increased to what? 3. Now you see from 1, 2, 3. Then you go to 4. When you get to 4, you say 4, 5, 6. You go to 7. So this last option, or the last argument you're introducing in your range parenthesis, is actually called a step. Okay, so this inner number here is the highest limit of your number. If I want to increase the limit so that I can have more number here, I can just decide to come here and change this to 20 or 30. Let me change it to 30. As long as I have my step here, I'm still going to have what I have there. So you can see I've increased to 30, so I'm having more numbers, but because of my step, yeah, okay, there's a reduction because of the differences between each of the items. So the difference between each of the items is 3. Okay, so the difference is 3. So we are seeing that. So another thing you need to understand is that if I take this off, okay, if I take that off and take this off and print this, let's see what happens. Okay, now it's going to go from 0. It's going to give you all the, by default, this we understand. If you take this off, by default Python will understand that the start point of the number is going to be 0, and this number you're feeding in here will be seen as the highest point of the number. Automatically, that is by default, it will be seen as the highest point of the number. Okay, so this is very useful. Most times you're writing your program, you just need range of numbers that includes only maybe odd numbers or even numbers, so you can actually specify using the step. Okay, or you want range of numbers but not from 1. Maybe you want the range to be from, you want this range of numbers to be from 10. Okay, you want it to be from 10. You're at liberty to specify. Okay, so now I just chose the range of numbers to be from 10, and that is what I have there. Look at my outcome is going from 10. So if I wanted to skip 2, okay, if I want to skip 2 numbers in between, I'll just include the 2 step, and that will actually skip numbers in between to give me all even numbers. You can see I'm having all even numbers. Okay, so if I want to work with even numbers, I think this should be a very good option for me. If I want to work with odd numbers, I can just go with the 3 option, and that should give me, you know, though it's not really giving me odd numbers in this case, but there are so many options you can adopt. It's simply giving you the 3-point difference between the items, so you're having 3-point differences. Okay, so that's just the basic thing about this. And another thing also, we're going to just play around with this. What if I may have my 30 here, and I have my in between here, I'll be having my, let's say, my 2. Okay, so let me run the program. Process finished with 0 code. Okay, so now let me just take it back to the highest point again. I'll take this back to the highest point again. I want to do something. Take this back to the lowest point. Let me say 2. Okay, let me say 1. Okay, now I'm going to turn this to a negative number. Okay, what if I turn this to a negative number? What happens? That'll be the question. What happens if I turn this to a negative number? It's giving me, okay, turn that to a negative number. Let me bring my 30 here. So I wanted to switch something. I wanted to switch the numbers around. So okay, good. So now what I did, like I explained initially, that this point is the lowest point and this is the highest point. Okay, now I brought the highest point to the start point, then I brought the lowest to the initial point, which was meant for the highest point. And what we did here was that we actually switched the appearance of this number the other way around. Initially, our outcome, we were going from the least here down to the highest, but now if you look at the list very well, you can see that we're going from the highest number down to the least. So it's just like turning these arrangements upside down. I can still reduce the steps. If I want to reduce the step, I can just have a -2 there and it will just increase my list, but I'm still coming from 12 bottom up arrangements. So you can actually play around with this. That's just the basic thing you need to understand about the Python, about the for loop. Okay, about the for loop. This is just the basic thing you need to understand about the for loop. So I want to believe now that you should be able to use the for loop to give us a list of numbers. I think at least a list of numbers between 1 to 100. You should be able to give us that. Okay, if I want to print this out now, I can just have this. So this is going to 99. If I want to make it 100, since the last number is going to be n-1, I'm going to make this to be 101. Okay, if I have that, I should have that to be 100. The last number that will be 100. I want to believe that your level now, you should be able to conveniently use the while loop. You should be able to use the for loop as well. Okay, you should be able to use it to print out numbers or names or items in sequence, in a list. You should be able to apply this for loop in printing out numbers in a list, like we explained initially. And then also you should be able to use a for loop to play around the range of numbers, okay, to generate range of numbers. You should be able to use this using the range function, the range keyword in Python. So with the range keyword, you should be able to get any range of number you desire, according to all that we have explained. Okay, so I think this should be all for now, and this is all we hope to cover this evening, and this is all we hope to cover today. I want to believe you have followed this far, and I want to appreciate your attention. Yes, but meanwhile, I want to know, I don't know if there is any question. Okay, I don't know if there's any question so far. I don't know if there's any question. Alright, is there any question?